Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're continuing with part two of the series where I review one of my students' hands that he's played at 25NL Zoom on GG. Before we get into the video, I just want to say again that this video doesn't contain any promotions to gambling websites. If you're choosing to gamble, gamble responsibly, and this video is only for educational purposes. Um, Again, yeah, have been hit by the YouTube algorithm on a couple of videos, so just hoping to avoid that in the future. So we've opened up the tens. We get a call and we see Queen 7-4. Yeah, we can continue here with small bet or check. Both are going to be fine. Check probably plays more intuitively, quite easy to play. And then turn here, I think, yeah, we can start betting check as a second time is probably okay. But yeah, I think in practice, just starting out with half pot there on turn is going to be totally fine. Bit of folding. The ace eight, oh no, just folds through to us as well. Queen nine here is relatively close. If we think the player's weak, we can three bet, but fold is also fine. And against a recreational here with the queens, the IV spots, always three betting. We get snap calls, and not exactly the board that we wanted to see. But yeah, I think range bet for a quarter is going to work fine in practice, and yeah, take it down. Seems fine. The 7-6 is a bit wide, but if we think that villains are overfolding from the small blind there, it's going to be okay. I'm probably not doing it in practice. Um, at least not against almost all opponents, only against a very small selection. Okay, so we open the ace nine, get a call, and face a lead. Again, I think we saw in part one, we saw us um, take this sort of line again on a board where I don't expect there to be much leading, any leading really, on the paired board here. There's just not enough of a range to support this. Yeah, I'm not folding the ace nine versus this bet, and I won't be folding turn now that we pick up a gutter. And also with the ace of clubs, we can, okay, we just get there anyway. But on a club that doesn't complete us, we can also we can also turn our hand into a bluff. Slash on a complete brick, we can also just look to call down three straights. Yeah, against this small size, we just have to raise. Oh, like the size, seems good. And folding versus jam if we do face it. I think this went check check flop, and then yeah, just check folding turn. Sure, seems fine. Open up the 6-5. Okay, we've got someone three bet jamming 45 big blinds. Good to know. Okay, so we get called in two spots with the tens. I'm just going to pure check this hand when it gets round to us. Assuming it gets round to us. Sevens, it's a bit weird at the rake structure. Like, I'm not sure whether we can profitably flat sevens there. It's fine at higher stakes. With the high rake, it's probably pretty dicey, but not the worst. Yeah, never folding versus the small lead from the recreational. Like, I think we just have a value beta. We're beating some merged hands, and now I'm definitely reopening on the left here with the tens. Yeah. At least five big blinds. I'm probably opening bigger. Yeah, we just run into this hand so often. Um, yeah, once he checks river, I just want to be reopening for more. We're against a recreational. We just want to be super greedy. So I think we can go 75%. Maybe you could say we can go pot. Because the king X just doesn't take the bet turn check river line almost ever. The king queen on the right after we three bet, it's probably just a check fold with no club. We open up the ace king, get flattered on the button. And by small blind and big blind, yeah, I'm checking range here on the 7-4-3. Defending the 8-6. Against two recreationals. This is also the recreational we saw jam, three bet jam flop. I think we should open the 8-6 here for small. Like, I think it's worth the value bets, and we're not getting trapped enough. And I think there's really useful denial, because this is just checking through way too often here, and then sometimes villains have just riveted a random like Jack 9 offsuit here. I think, yeah, we should have value bet the turn, and then by the river, I kind of want to bet one big blind, but like it's very, check is fine. I presume we just win, but yeah. Like, this is the thing, like, both of these racks call the turn when we bet small here, and we win like an extra four big blinds from them or something. Um, and when they didn't, and that's like when they've, got a hand that's continuing versus us. When they have a hand that's folding, we're just like, folding out, 10% equity or whatever, in two spots, which is pretty useful. I'm just gonna fold the 5-4 always here. Yep, good. There was also a spot where if we'd back to the 8-6 hand, if we'd bet one big blind on river, we probably get called in both spots as well. So yeah, it was probably slightly missed value opportunity there. So this 8-7-5 is a spot where we can donk. Not necessarily the hand that we want to do with it. I'm definitely considering if we have a club. So if, yeah, and then on turn, like on turn, we're going to need to be really polar if we're choosing to reopen, because villains just backed into a bunch of ace X. Um, Again, probably not the hand that wants to reopen as an exploit if we think that villains are just going to end up folding too much if we're putting the hammer down here. Like, you could just get massively out of line. And then I think this is a profitable bluffing spot here. I think in practice, I would just hero call any bluff catcher on the button here, because I don't think people in our shoes are finding this sizing with anything thin enough for value here. Like, I think our 8x and probably our 7x is worth like an overbet here. And I don't think people are ever doing that with 8x or 7x here. So if this guy's got pocket fours, I'm just always calling. Um, or king high. But I think in practice, like, we don't get heroed by those hands super often, so then it's not a mistake on our end to take that size. I'll go back to this ace 9. I missed what happened exactly, how we got here. See if we do get the fold, I presume. Let's just go back to the ace 9. So we open, get flattered, and go for check, which is going to be fine. I think no spades. Okay, so the gambit is we're saying that the um, player is betting too liberally, which can be fine, particularly against a 36 VPip rack. So I think the raise is definitely out of line and not theory approved, but in practice, maybe it's okay. Once we turn the 9, I think we slow down. Makes sense. And this is pretty awkward. Like, all is okay, but I don't think it's a super winning spot. Um, Sorry, let me just pause the video one second. Sorry, just had to pause 1 second. I think, yeah, the spot is close on the turn. Like, call is probably okay. And then river just goes check, check. Yeah, the flop raise is definitely out of line, but maybe it's okay against a recreational super wide. What about the king queen? Go for a small bet. Seems like a fine triple off spot with the queen of hearts. We are against a recreational, and I missed the stack size, so maybe actually we want to just check and realize our equity here, because we are just going to get jammed on here when we bet, 12 big blinds or something. So I think I'm fine with check and realize. And then never bluffing this river. This is too much ace X. I don't think Jack X folds. Yeah, we're just never getting any fold equity by that river, so good give up. Yeah, I think on turn we can just realize our equity. I don't really want to bet 10 big blinds there and get jammed on, which is going to happen from, a fish who's off a volatile sort of stack size. If we were 100 big blinds deep, which was where I initially thought we were, I'm just tripling the handoff. Through at the ace king. Just some folding. The ace 8 here is relatively close versus 2.3. It's definitely a fold versus 2.5 and easily a call versus 2, so 2.3 is just somewhere in the middle. Yeah, I think raise flop is going to perform best against a recreational. Yeah, and then let's just make sure all the money goes in by the river. I think we go, yeah, I like this size on turn, because we don't ever want a flush draw to fold once we boat up. So I like the B75 into then just overbet jam river, as the line. And just say like a fish when they've got the fourth ace and they've got trips, they're just never folding. Kings. Not sure what the orange tag is. Doesn't matter. Obviously opening it up and just take it down. Just plenty of folding and raising. Nothing super interesting. Queen 9 versus 2.5, again, quite close. All 3-bet folds, all within reason. Again, it's a spot where verse third, I think I always raise. Verse half, I'm slightly less inclined, but I think raise is still just going to perform quite well. And again, a spot now, once we've turned second pair, I don't think we want to do this for this size. Like I think this is quite a probably quite a mistake. Like we actually have turned a bunch of showdown equity, right? Like there's going to be all of his, 4-5, ace-4, 8-7 that we're all ahead of now that we can just take this like check line on. Quite an interesting run out here. Um or that we can just take, a check line on the turn and a check line on the river, and we just call it a draw, and we've actually won. We win a fair bit of pot share. Um, we were saying, I think, in part one that part of the reason we're raising flop is because we think we're getting the overfold on flop, and so once they make it to turn, we're saying they've got quite a strong range. That strong range is going to contain, 16 combos. Obviously, there's a little bit of removal from our queen. Um, so 12 combos of their queen jack, which is obviously just like never finding a fold. There's also jack 7, which is always here, and 7-6, which was double gutted on flop as well. So that's always here as well. So I think we're just running into too much nutted stuff that I don't really want to run the bluff on the turn. And then by river, again, we can just take a check line and win against 10-9, win against 10-8, win against 9-8. So I am never bluffing river. Yeah, never pulling the trigger here. So hopefully we don't do it. We're clearly tempted to. Don't know what are we value betting if we're betting 25 big blinds here? This doesn't. Let me just pause and so I mean, I guess we're value betting here, but I I don't love it. We're also like, yes, there are some hands that we now beat, but there's also just a load of hands that we're just losing an extra 25 big blinds to. I mean, yeah, I intuitively it just plays very easily as a check to me, but I mean, maybe it's not the worst thing in the world, but I think there's just too much that we're losing to here. Hopefully we just get called by 10-9. Like there are some two pair combos that are going to get pretty tempted by this price, but um, yeah, I don't know. We're also just giving away an extra 25 big blinds a decent chunk of the time. Again, the jack 8 off against the recreational, I'm always going to throw bet it versus recreational. Open up the 7-6. Always folding the 9-7, obviously. Yeah, and then always folding once we get squeezed from big blind here. And there was a cold caller in the middle. So with the 6-4, I think we should always open here. So I like that we do. In practice, I'm probably going B75. And when we get called in two spots, flush completes and board pairs, just yeah, never firing river. So I think it's a good give up. Yeah. Yeah, a fine give up on river. But yeah, I think the turn bluff is good. Okay, so we see 8-4 deuce. We go for a quick check. I just from a balance sort of perspective, I don't really like how quickly we're checking these sort of spots. Um, I would like to take a little bit more time because it's not a spot where we can't have a betting range. Like we are just going to have a more polar strategy on the flop here. Ace King is going to fit into the checking range like a decent chunk of the time. It's also going to be bet, some of the time. I think we're probably just inducing too many bets when we snap check. And it's not really, we don't really have the type of hand that wants to all of a sudden face three streets of pressure. Like some people, and again, sorry, I'm missing that the stack size is smaller. So maybe we do just want to induce a bet from the recreational and call off. That's also going to be okay here. We should just mostly have the best hand here with the ace king. There's not much we can do. Like maybe we can bet three big blinds, get some value, and sometimes induce some spew. I expect to just always be winning. So, and that type of hand will always call versus three big blinds probably. So I think it's a spot where you can get the thin value. Sometimes when they have pocket sevens, you like lose three big blinds, but it doesn't really matter. But then sometimes also you just cause them to lose their mind with king queen off. And then they jam, and then you call, and you're happy days. Defend the king 10. See a decently quick check on turn. On flop. I think I'm probably just in practice reopen or opening on the turn super high frequency. Um, yeah, and then obviously we river the straight, and we go B 250, something like that, bit under. Um, yeah, I think this is fine in practice. I'm just wondering whether we want to go even bigger. A lot of villains' check back range is just going to consist of like ace X type hands. There's going to be some, ace 10, ace king type hands that are not really going to be particularly inclined to fold once they river the ace. So in practice, whether that means we have to just go like 16 big blinds, maybe. But yeah, I mean, I like the fact that we're going over 200% pot as a starting point. Looks like he just had like he's also then got the underpair region, which like we're just not really interested in getting value from. Yep, folding the a7 and folding the 10-6. Don't see any reason to be opening that. King 7, again, can continue with call, can continue with 3 bets. Both fine. Ace big sizing, which is a little bit scary already. Always calling, never raising. A magnificent turn, one that when villain has the bluffing range, they're probably just going to always fire. I'm never raising this turn here. I think we just have a premium bluff catcher, so I am always clicking call on turn and then always clicking call on river. We are going for the raise. It's I mean, yeah, the problem is we don't have the nuts, right? Like we are um I mean it's kind of suicidal from villain there. Um we don't have the nuts. We are just like getting stacked by King Jack. Which I mean, when I'm saying I'm never folding river, like the same thing's happening. If villain jams river like as an overbet, I'm just like calling it down. Like I think raise is fine. I personally would rather just let these type of hands triple off, and always call down versus them. Because I just don't expect people to kind of suicide off like they have here, right? Like with the Queen 10, this seems kind of a disaster from villain. So I guess when villain is taking this line with the Queen 10, then Ray's turn becomes better. But I just don't expect that to be the case super often. What was the line here that we faced with the sevens? other than it's looking magnificent. Okay, so um we get the board where I think we saw again in part one where we flopped the nuts straight on a board where we're like doing a lot of checking. Here we flopped upset on a board where we should be doing a lot of checking exploitatively if we want to just like bet more often here because we don't expect villains to reopen like polar and big on the turn, then this is probably fine. Like yeah, I'm on board with betting small here. And then when we get click raised, yeah, I think I'm happy to just like put in another raise. Obviously, there's like 5-4, but it should only be suited combos. I mean, actually, maybe I think we only open to two big blinds, so maybe there's the offsuit combos here. Like at this point, like we're just running into 5-4 super often, so let's call and try and make a boat. We are deep enough where if this goes bet turn jam river, like maybe we can find folds. I guess the thing we need to be thinking about is whether we think villains ever doing this with pocket sixes or pocket threes. I, geez, I don't think jam is going to perform well here. I think we're just running into 5-4 way too often. Um, yeah, yeah, I think this is a bit of a disaster. I don't think there's flush draws are ever really four betting the flop. So we don't actually need to deny from like two flush draws because they're just not really part of range. Villain's range is kind of 16 combos of 5-4 and then six combos of sixes and threes, right? And we're really just trying to see the river and hope to suck out, and then also know that you've got the implied odds, and that when the river boats up, when we boat up, villains are just not going to be able to fold 5-4. But yeah, I'm looking to call turn and potentially fold river there if we don't improve. Because yeah, once we face the click four bet, it's either 5-4 or it's someone like overvaluing pocket sixes or something. Um, yeah, it's nothing else unless we know that the guys are massive recreational. If we knew they were a massive recreational, we would have already had them tagged that way. Rebetting the aces, obviously. Yeah, and we're a bit deeper, so I don't mind the custom size up. Seems fine. I think in practice we don't get to do it, but gonna be fine. Like the four bet should be sized up, but I don't think our three bet sizing changes that much. Not that I'm super studied at 200 deep, so I could be wrong there. Aces again, and we get the walk. Always fun. So we see snap bet range from villain on the Jack 6-6 board and snap check on the king. Um, so I think it's an interesting spot on river because the challenge is going to be some recreationals have just snapped checked all their Jack X, and so we can't like we are just running into Jack X still here sometimes. I'm quite tempted to want to go for value, and I don't think villains are going to reopen super often here as a bluff after they've snap checked on the king. So I don't think the check line really makes much in terms of us being able to bluff catch. And so then it's really whether the bet line outperforms the fact that, yes, he has some Jack X sometimes. I think I just want to bet like 1.5 big blinds here, lose the minimum versus Jack X, and then sometimes there's going to be some like pocket eights that call and stuff like that. He does have the Jack X, and so, I mean, we like a pretty pretty bad play from villain in terms of just like snap check turn, snap check river. Like a Jack X is definitely worth a reopen on the river there. So would have him tagged as a weak reg at best. Um, yeah, so we ended up losing the minimum there by the fact that he doesn't reopen, and we're not forced to choose whether we want to bluff catch. Let me replay this hand against a recreational. So we open the fours and flop a set. Um, again, a spot where going to be a high frequency checkboard, but against a recreational in practice, I don't mind just like betting the flop because I want to have built a bigger pot. I don't really want to be forced into this line. But yeah, I like this on river here, choosing to jam. Like I just want to be super greedy against a recreational. You can be watching this and going, wow, we're jamming like 5x pot. But in practice, like recreationals are going to make all sorts of god awful mistakes here, right? Like some recreationals aren't just going to be able to, they're not going to be able to fold a7 off here. Some recreationals, there's going to be an element of queen x here that they've rivered that's just like never going to fold, and just going to be super inelastic. So definitely like the jam. I think we can have built this pot bigger by betting flop, betting turn, and so then the jam on river is less large, because there is, some sort of elasticity that comes in. It's just not super high. But yeah, I like the jam on river. Just like maximum grade. And like, yes, we see the fold there, and so we don't get the reward very often, but in practice, I think it's the best play. Against the two big blind open, I'm against some opponents there. The two big blind is just like super weak, and we can attack it like with anything. Um, I mean, yes, there's not much really we can do with the 8-5 there. I'm just like loath to have, check folded versus recreational in that super wide range spot. I'm pretty tempted to just like raise pre to squeeze to three bet over the two big blind open. And I missed action on the right as to, I'm guessing let's see, given we've called, so we flat from the hijack, I think. Oh, we three bet small. Yeah. Which is fine. Um, is fine, and then we go check check flop. Do we go check check flop? Yep, snap check flop, and then turn goes check check. Yeah, I think river call is mandatory then. With the line that's been played out here. Yeah, never folding river. And super nice value bet here. Um, one that, like, we're never folding river because we just don't expect the average player in the pool to be value betting pocket sevens here. Um, so hence it becomes like a very easy call. Obviously, when you've got players that start value betting sevens there and they're value betting super thin, then the hero call becomes much worse. But in practice against population, I'm not concerned there. It's a pretty easy call. Against that player specifically, it would be good to note that they are capable of reopening super thin for value. So it's obviously a spot where we're going to be less inclined to want a hero down and more inclined to have some traps in range. Again, I think this is, did we again just go for, yeah, with the Jack 10. So similar to, I think, the part one of the video where we had the Queen 9, we choose to donk on the 662, which just from a theoretical standpoint makes absolutely no sense. And I don't see, like, I don't think it's making much sense from an exploit standpoint as well. This is just a bit of a torch here. Um, yeah, bit of a torch, and I think again would give up my river. Not much to be doing here. Yeah, I do not want to be here. I mean, the thing is, we do actually now win sometimes, right? Like we actually beat pocket nines, pocket eights, those type of hands. Um, we actually sometimes win this. Yeah, I don't. What are we doing here? Um, yeah, I don't actually know if Villain is even knowing that he's playing Queen High there. Um, given we're at 25 and L, but I also still wouldn't really expect Queen High to fold. So, and what we were playing Jack High. So yeah, kind of a torch. If we're playing Jack High and I'm not expecting Queen High to fold. Yeah, definitely need to cut those leading lines out of our game here. It's also, yeah, I think it's just like a function of misunderstanding the paired board dynamic of like, yep, we sometimes have more 6x depending on where the opener was and our big blind defense range. But it's not enough in practice to be building out a leading range there. Not for a small size. Like if we wanted to be leading like 6x there on flop to go back to that hand, um, we need to be like going way more polar. Let me just go back through this Jack 10 hand as to how we got here. Oh, we're in a splash bot. I'm not going to focus too much on the splash bot. Okay, 200 big blinds deep here against a recreational is quite interesting. I am not opposed to call, um, particularly given they're not super splashy. And the challenge is like, yeah, we don't want to be getting in 200 big blinds. Um, yeah, I'm not 100% whether I think fold on flop is fine versus the big size probably. Also take into account the positions on the table, like it was low jack, hijack. I think playing slightly more conservatively there is probably fine. Well, the jack eight, sure. We've got about 2 minutes left of this recording. But do let me know in the comments if you liked this kind of format. I can get some of my students to record, more of these videos and provide some commentary over the top. Obviously, I haven't been posting a heap of late, but hopefully, I can get past sort of YouTube's issues with poker videos being uploaded, and get back and posting a bit more regularly again. The king jack here is too wide, but I've missed what the tag is. If it's a recreational, it's okay. It's too wide from just a theoretical standpoint. So the threes here versus the small three bet, I'm always continuing. We can fold once it's getting up to 7.5. Uh, nice stack to end it with aces versus kings on the right. Um, yeah, not much we can do on the left here. Three's no spade. I think we're just going to check fold if we face a bet. Yeah. See if there's any more hands, but I think that pretty much is bringing us up to the end of the video. So we'll see if there's anything interesting, but if not, thanks for making it through this video this far. Hopefully you've enjoyed. Give it a like, subscribe if you haven't already, and we'll catch you on the next video. I think these hands are just folding through. So we'll catch you on the next one. Cheers.